And we're back. First of all, are you okay? Ben Price told me to do that about Holly Willoughby, so I've broken the fourth wall there already. But we're back. View from the Ninian after a hiatus of what, 2.5 weeks? I can't remember the actual time frames. We're back, and a lot has been going on. Joining me, as always, Ben Price, Tom Phillips. Ben Price, what's been going on, mate? Been a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm the only one stuck in this country, which is a rarity for me. It's normally me the one out of the country. So, well, I'm Tom permanently, but not a lot's happened. Not a lot good anyway. It's been an interesting few weeks while you've been jet setting.
We have been jet setting and welcoming back Tom Phillips, newly married Tom Phillips. Show everyone the ring.
There you go. That's good for an audio platform.
Well, we'll do videos. How do we put on YouTube?
Oh, I actually do forget that we still do YouTube when I'm like picking my nose and stuff. Yeah, thanks for the reminder.
Like subscribe. Tom, how was the wedding?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. I'm still absolutely shattered 2 weeks later, but it was good to have 45, 50 Welsh people out in Melbourne enjoying themselves. But I hope it never happens again.
Yeah, it won't ever happen again. It's too far to travel. I won't be coming back. I'm still tired as well. I've only been back a week because I went to Japan after Tom's wedding. So had a good week in Tokyo, bonded with a shop cashier over Junichi Inamoto and Cardiff City. So it was a fantastic trip. But we're back. We're back. The podcast needs us. People have been clamoring for this, and we have returned. And there's a lot to talk about, Ben Price, isn't there?
There is. It's nice to feel loved. It's nice to feel wanted.
It is nice to feel wanted. Thank you to everyone who has said, where is the podcast? It feels a bit like Fat Tony and The Simpsons and his wife. Where's the podcast and all that kind of shit. So it's good to be back. We'll start with the Portsmouth game. We'll talk about the Bristol game. We'll kind of gloss over the Leeds game. We'll look at the FA Cup and then we'll talk about Plymouth and everything else. But first, Tom Phillips, Portsmouth. What a stupid start to that game.
Oh, yeah, awful. To be honest, we were lucky it was only 2. Because they absolutely battered us in the opening stage of that game. We were all over the shop. I mean, it wasn't like it came from a player that we'd never heard of, had nothing to do with before, was it? It's just the classic, Murphy coming good did happen. 2 assists, nearly scored himself. And honestly, it was absolutely terrible start to the game. And I love the midweek games now, because for me, it's get up, 7 a.m, games on just before I go to work. I love it when we do okay. When we start like that, it ruins my day from minute 1. And it was an absolutely terrible start to the game.
Ben, let's talk about Josh Murphy. We have been saying on this podcast for a long time, was he going to come good? And he finally did, but it just happened to be against us, didn't it?
Yes, in a way, it's nice to see Neil Warnock prove right, isn't it?
I mean, it took its time.
Yeah. I mean, 10 years later, it took its time, but it finally happened. So we can't complain too much. We knew what he was capable of. We all knew there was a player there. Mm-hmm. It's just a shame it's come out into... Well, it wasn't a shame it came out against the Swans. It was just a shame it came out against us because he was properly up for that. He properly wanted to stick it into us.
Yeah, let's talk about that first goal, Ben, because obviously that's, it all came from a Josh Murphy run. Obviously, Josh Murphy did really well. It was that kind of quintessential Josh Murphy coming in from the left, cutting back in on his right. We saw him do that against Burnley when he played for us, and that's how he scored a few of his goals for us. But did we give him too much space to do that? We should have known what was coming, right? But instead, we just let him kind of get beyond the defender and find that space.
I think it showed that we had a centre midfielder playing at right back. I think that is the issue. It was the same. We're going to come to it with Leeds as well. But I think Rinnemont has been brilliant, but he clearly struggles if someone's got a lot of pace. And not like a lot of players in the Championship have a bit of pace that you can sort of manage. And that's where Rinnemont is really good at doing that. If you've got someone that's stinking fast, like Josh Murphy can be, like he was against us, he's going to struggle. It's just a natural thing. And it was really exposed there. And then sort of, from that, everyone else is out of shape. No one sort of knows what they're doing. And it's a classic Cardiff goal to concede, ball coming across the box and a tap in for the striker. It's nice to see it not come from our left-hand side for once. It's changed for it to come from the right.
Yeah. And Tom, we kind of fell apart from there, really, didn't we? That opening 20 minutes was a kind of calamity, really. That they scored that first goal pretty quickly after that. They could have scored again. There was a fish block on the line. I think Alnwick made a really good save from Murphy, but it could have easily been 2 or 3-0 quite quickly, couldn't it?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we massively got away with one. And you can see why Portsmouth have blown the odd team away this year. Like when they were going forward, they were pretty relentless.
Mhm.
They were coming forward in numbers and they were causing us some real problems. But then as the game went on, you can also see why they conceded a load of goals as well. But I think we kind of did well to kind of stay at 2. And I think our goal, which we'll come on to, came at a good time for us to kind of stem that flow. Because I think if we'd gone another 10 minutes of them pushing forward, I think we would have been 4-0 down at half time. But we can't afford to start games like that, especially a team who were like in and around us in the league as well. It wasn't like we were playing Leeds. It was Portsmouth, and we made them look spectacular in the opening stages of that game.
Yeah, and Ben, their second goal was kind of Almwick at his worst, but before that had been Almwick at his best, hadn't it? That save from Murphy came through a crowd. He got down really quickly to it, that forced the corner that they then scored from. Should he have done more for the second goal? Obviously, the save from Murphy is fantastic, but the ball straight at him from the second goal, he kind of just palms it into the goal, or was it just a really powerful header? Am I being too harsh on him?
No, I think he should be doing better with that. I'm normally quite quick to defend goalkeepers and situations like that, but I think he'll look back and know he should have done a lot better with that goal. It sort of hit him and he sort of just pushed. You can see what he's tried to do. He's just pushed. He's too far back, so he's sort of against himself and he's just got no chance. It's only ever going to go in the goal when he tries that. He should try and hold on to it or just bat it back into the danger zone and hope one of our defenders clears it. It's a clear mistake from him, isn't it? He should have done a lot better there.
And Tom, I mean, the game didn't really slow down until Adauda scored, really. But 2-1 going into half time. It was a great header, wasn't it, from Adauda? It's very powerful, gets it back across goal, holds off his defender. He should be playing in a more attacking position all the time, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he's just been unlucky that we've had to have him further back to plug gaps because we've had no depth at left back. We've needed defensive quality there, and he provides that as well. So, but it shows what we've been missing going forward. I thought he was brilliant in that first half, getting forward, getting into some advanced positions. The second half of the first half, anyway. And from that goal onwards, we were the much better side at the end of that half. I think half-time came at a bit of a bad time for us because we were just turning the screw more and more and more. And Portsmouth needed to get in at half-time to have a bit of a break because, that goal came massively against the run of play. Like, we didn't deserve to be 2-1 at that point. But, up until half-time then, we were the only ones who really had a look in. And it was kind of... It's frustrating because we've shown glimpses of that like all season, really, where we put these like 15, 20-minute spells together, but we can't sustain it. And it was just another one of those, that second half of the first half.
It's also annoying that we started the game so badly, right? Because, it's been a theme of this season that we either start games at a million miles an hour, like we did against Watford, or we start games so slowly that it takes us till the second half for us to get back into it, like we did against Swansea, really. The Swansea home game was a slow start. Obviously, we just contained them, but then the second half, we came out all guns blazing. If we just held firm, Ben, for the first 15 minutes, that game was there for the taking, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've seen... I don't know what goes on before we kick off. Is it just that everything's too complicated and the players are still trying to get their heads around it? I don't know. But... yeah, we just don't switch on until it's like a thing that like the players can't switch on until they're up against it. It's just as if they're trying to play everything on difficult mode.
Yeah.
I just wish they change it up. It's getting frustrating now and it's costing us more and more now. And it's the reason why we are where we are in the league. It's mistakes like that.
It's mad though, because it was like the parallels to the Millwall game. It felt like exactly the same. And I think that's probably why I got a bit of false hope going into that second half then. Because it's like, we've come back from a game like this before with Millwall. We nicked a late equaliser. And to be fair, it felt like we could do that in the second half. And I know we're going to the second half now. But we just didn't get going second half then. We should have built on that momentum for the first half. But it was just drab. Like, we just needed to start that second half a bit brighter. But it just never really came. It kind of just fizzled out. And I think that was the most frustrating thing about that game. We'd done the hard work, we kind of riding the... Well, we didn't ride the early storm. We were lucky not
back into it.
3 or 4. Yeah, we got back into it, got back into the game, but we just didn't really kick on, and it was a bit of a frustrating one then.
But they made the perfect sub, though, didn't they? Because I think O'Dowda was killing Swanson down that side. Yeah, absolutely murdered. Like, even for the header, like he just completely outmuscles him. It's a great finish. The second they made that change at half time with Devlin coming on, we just didn't get back going. It's as if we were a bit like everyone was deflated, going, "Oh, they've worked it out. We're sussed." and just, we couldn't figure out anything else. Then no one got going in that second half. It was unbelievable.
It was a very strange game, wasn't it? Because the first half was all action, and I was speaking to a Portsmouth fan I know yesterday, and he was basically saying that they thought it could have been 4 or 5-0. It could have easily been 4-3 to them after that first half, but the second half just completely fizzled out, and it was like the opposite of the Swansea game in the sense that the first half was all action, second half was very slow, very sluggish, and neither team really got going in the second half, did they, Tom?
No. But like they didn't look to shut up shop or anything. They were still trying to get bodies forward. They just weren't as clinical or as good at it as they were in the first half. And that's why it's frustrating, because there was spaces there at the back for us to exploit. We just didn't do it. It felt like we couldn't put simple passes together either. I felt like the level really dropped off for both teams.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it turned into a stalemate. It was just two really poor teams not being able to get anything going in that second half. And I don't know. I was just sat there thinking, we will come good. There's going to be a spell where we're going to get back into this game. And I suppose we had the Robinson chance where he fired it straight to the keeper.
Yeah.
But apart from that, there was nothing clear cut. And it's a frustrating one because you can forgive a performance like that every now and again. But it's so expensive when it's a team that we would have like leapfrogged in the league or stayed ahead of in the league.
Yeah.
And instead, now it's them pulling away from us. And it just makes it a little bit more difficult for us. When we looked at this period of games, we've got some winnable games here. It kind of kills that momentum, and it puts even more pressure now on the fixture, on that Bristol game that we get onto, and then the next two fixtures in the league as well. It really ramps it up for us.
It's a massive loss in that regard, and it's just
you
could have so much breathing room if we'd won that game.
Yeah.
The pressure is massively off. Then you pulled away. We're Portsmouth are now sort of going. Realistically, now they're sort of looking up, going, "Oh, we should be all right." Like the other team, there's a lot of teams in sort of free fall. A couple of results here and there, and you're safe. It would have been massive just to pick. Even a point would have been huge. It was one of the worst games we could have lost this season, I think.
But it hands them the initiative, right? Portsmouth are all of a sudden looking at the table again, and they beat Oxford yesterday. I can't remember who they beaten before that, but they seem to be pulling together a nice run of results, and it's at our expense, which makes it, as you say, Tom, a more expensive loss because it's against the teams that are around us, and it does they've got that breathing space now when we could have had that breathing space, and it kind of cuts us even more adrift, which makes, it just spells trouble for every other game that we've got coming up, really. Ben, in the second half, obviously, not much happened, but there were a couple of contentious moments, one being a penalty. Was that a penalty in your eyes?
I think it's a penalty. I didn't realise at the time how clear it was. It's sort of one that sort of passed me by, but looking back, I can't work out it wasn't given. It's not like it hits
right in
front
front of the referee as well.
He sort of scoops it. It's a really weird one, so I'm not sure why that wasn't given. It's not like it's sort of deflection that comes off and you sort of going, his hand's near it. His arm's out against it. Every sort of rule that you look at, you sort of, with the handball rule, it ticks every one of those boxes. It should have been a penalty.
And then, Tom, late on in the game, should Ogilvie have been sent off? I'm amazed he didn't get sent off, but I want to know your opinion on it.
I can't remember what this is. I'm not
going
to lie to you.
On El Ghazi.
Yeah, quite late tackle on El Ghazi. Goes in from behind, scissor tackle.
Oh, yeah. Possibly. I think the pen one is a clear-cut one.
You don't remember it? Are you just...
Yeah. Kind of ride the wave here. Can't remember it one bit.
Ben, you seem to have a bit more... I think it's a red card. In the modern game, it's a red card.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones. I think a different referee, if he's a bit close to it, gives it. I can't work out why the fourth official doesn't have a word, because he's high. It's a scissor in action. And
from behind.
I think that should have been a red. I think it's one of those, what they say, like the orange card sort of thing, isn't it? Some refs will give it from their point of view. But yeah, I think for me, this day and age, like you said, it should be a red.
Fourth officials aren't allowed to get involved on those decisions unless you're Mike Dean at Burnley away in the Premier League season. That's the law.
Oh, yeah.
I
still can't remember the tackle. I'm trying to think back now.
It's on the touchline, about the halfway line, on the touchline closest to the camera.
If you watch it on TV. I'm not going to remember it. Can we talk about the pen again? I remember that bit.
Yeah, go on then. Talk about the pen, because Ben had both questions. So was it a pen for you, Tom?
I think it was. I think Ben summed it up nicely, actually. It was just... With that, though, like he was on about earlier on, it's the scooping action. It's the thing that kind of really cements it for me. It's such an awkward thing to do with your hand that it's just clear cut. But I also missed that at the time. I didn't really notice it had gone on. So I think that's the one thing you can kind of forgive the ref. But he was also a yard away. 18,000
But
kilometers.
we
So
didn't make
he
much of
reckon he
it.
should have
That's
spotted
the
it.
bit I find weird. Is like our players just didn't scream for it. I feel like
Gutas did. I think there was like
Yeah.
2 or 3 of them who did. But yeah, I know what you mean. There wasn't enough
I
of
wonder
it.
if it just
We're
happened
not
so
savvy
quickly, but
enough.
yeah, we're not savvy enough, but also it did happen so quickly.
yeah.
I wonder if people just like when some of the players just went to the ball and didn't react to it properly. But Tom, to your point about defending the referee, that is literally his job.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I kind of defended him, but then I backed out of it pretty quick. I was like, yeah. But yeah, it is unlucky on our part because, again, that's an absolute momentum turner then. Like, we score that one, we probably score another. It's that type of game because they were already shell-shocked in our first half. If it happens again in the second, I think they would have capitulated.
Yeah. That was Portsmouth. Now let's talk about Bristol City, the Severnside Derby. 1-1 draw yesterday at the CCS. A late goal from Yusuf Salech to get the points. He's making a good habit of that. Let's talk about the changes. Let's go to Tom because Ben, you answered both questions last time. What did you make of the changes, Tom? Obviously, Bagan in its centre half. All of a sudden, we have no centre halves, it seems. Reno back to the middle of the park. NG in. Will Alves starting. There were quite a few changes, wasn't there?
Yeah, and I didn't mind seeing it, to be honest with you. I think Alves has shown enough in the other games. There's something about him. He's got a bit of trickery there. I didn't realise how high regard he's held at Leicester until he came in with us. I didn't realise it was only because of an injury, really, that he hasn't kicked on even sooner, even though he's only like 18. So I was really excited to see him come in. I think Bacon coming in as well. He's probably been one of our stronger performers this season. Because like I've said before, I really wasn't convinced about him coming into this season, but I think he's been really, really dependable. Like even in that Portsmouth game, he had one of our best chances as well, like in an attacking sense. So I think it was changes that we probably needed to spice things up a bit. And yeah, we seem to be decimated with injuries at the moment. So yeah, it was definitely needed.
If you look at Bagan's recent performances, he's averaging around a 7 on FOTMob. And I think I thought he was pretty good yesterday against Bristol. I thought he was very solid. We'll talk about his block right at the end of the game to kind of save the point, but I thought he was pretty good. Ben, one of the players who seems to be coming for a little bit of stick on the internet is Ruben Colwill. Obviously, he started again yesterday, playing alongside Callum Robinson in kind of like a false 9 striker position. I don't know what we're talking about anymore when it comes to positions. What did you make of his performance?
I thought he did everything right until it was the final delivery. And I think it's the time and time again we're talking about this with Colwell of he's just holding on to it too much. There was a couple of times where he was being challenged, being brought down, somehow managed to get through everyone and sort of give the ball instinctively, and he did everything right. It was the second the defenders backed off him for that split second, he had to think. He'd take that extra touch, he'd delay, and then they could close him down again. It was infuriating at times because that boy there's so much potential there, but he's got to suss this out because there was like, I reckon 3 chances at least where he could have got a shot off and given us a decent chance to even just follow in. He's just so hesitant on the ball when it comes to that final delivery. And I don't know, it's only down to him to fix that because it's not like players are screaming for it. He's just delaying it and stuff and just causing more problems. There was times where he could have given it off to Alves, especially in the second half where Alves has sort of made that run. If he's quick with that, the ball the attack just moves so much quicker. But he's just taking that extra touch and just not making things happen enough for a player that's his sole role in that team is creativity. He's not there really to do the dirty defensive work. He is there to be creative. And if he's hesitant and stopping other people's runs and causing people to run offside, and we've got players that have got bags of pace like Alves, it's causing huge issues for us going forward. And I really want him to succeed, but at the moment, these performances are on him and him alone. It's not like he hasn't seen much of the ball. In the past, we've given him grief. Well, not given him grief. We've given him sort of excuse because he's not seen the ball. Yesterday, he had loads of the ball and did nothing with it. And I think at some point, he's got to be criticised for it. There's too much potential for him to be doing this.
Go on, criticise him then.
I think I have, haven't I?
I thought he played quite well.
No, I think
he does play really well.
Until the final ball. He ran with the ball brilliantly, kept hold of it really strongly. But look at his stats, he did nothing with it. And when he's our sole, our main creative outlet and someone you expect that magic from, he's got to deliver that now. He's 23, he's played a lot of football, and that's his role. And he's just not delivering there at the moment. I think people are questioning, when's this actually going to come? When's it going to change from the potentials then you can see what could be to when's it actually going to happen?
I think it did a Stoke though in the cup. I think we are starting to see a bit more of it from him now. I definitely not 100% of the time and not enough. But I think I think he's done enough recently to keep getting picked and keep being in the starting lineup. I think there's still a lot of pressure on him because, like you said, he's that only player who can create that spark, that bit of magic. And I think if anyone else in that team put in that performance, we'd be saying, look, there's something that's a great performance by that lad. But there's such an expectation around him now that we kind of, I think it's not like, oh, it's about time someone criticizes them. I think we have done for about a year or so now, really. I think
we've spent the last 2 or 3 seasons going, when's he going to come good?
Yeah.
Is he as good as we think he is? I think to your point, Tom, he's under a kind of constant umbrella of that criticism, isn't he? And it must be weighing down on him a little bit.
I think it's quite interesting after these games because where they're going, we're not seeing enough from him. But because other teams don't know anything about him, you can see they're coming into it fresh going, that lad's good.
Yeah.
But we're kind of there going, yeah, but not good enough yet. We've seen this before. So I still think that, we've got the likes of Ramsey and stuff coming back in. I think it's key that they play at the same time. The likes of Ashford there and Alves as well. There's some creative outlets. So I'm hoping over the next few weeks when they start to come in, these players start to link up a little bit more. That unlocks Colwell a little bit more. But I feel like I've probably been making excuses for him for quite a while now.
I think that's the reality of it, though, isn't it? We're still in a bit of a position where we probably need Colwell to do a bit more of the donkey work, or that expectation on him is to do a bit more of the leg work because of the position he's playing in. But you're right. I think if you can set the team up that you've got people like Mansverk, Rolls, Chambers behind him that just completely unlock Colwell, and you just give him the ball, like a bit like Jason Kumas all those years ago for us, just give him the ball and make him do something. That's when we're going to see the success from him. But at the moment, I still think he's caught between the two worlds of trying to work hard for the team. Bullock tried to instill that into him that he wasn't working enough off the ball. He wasn't doing enough without the ball, or he wasn't doing enough defensive work. And I think that's costing his attacking intent because when he gets forward, he's probably overthinking it to Ben's point. So
I think
he'll come good one day.
Yesterday he had the ball exactly where you want it. It was in that final third. I think yesterday was all. It's just there's something. I don't know if it's like a lack. It's just a lack of killer instinct with him. It's not like he's being relaxed. He's still looking for stuff. It's a lack of decisiveness, and that is going to hold him back until he works on that himself. It's not a case of like people doing it. He seems really caught up in his own head of, oh, do I give it to him? And you can see him trying to make these decisions in real time when the most gifted players and the players sort of with his potential that sort of go on and kick on sort of seem to do it naturally. He's at his best when he's sort of closed down. Like you think back to that Bristol goal the year before where he's cut inside, cut through his bloke and he's fucking lashed it. It's because everyone's on him quick and he's only got a split second to do it. It seems it's really strange, but he's the only person you think if I give him a second to think, we can tackle him that much easier because he's just ponders on the ball too much.
I wonder if that indecision has been bred from a lack of confidence, a lack of, I think there's so much going on with this football team and has been for this season, basically. There's been constant change, constant indecision about who's going to be in charge. And Colwell probably, as a player, has suffered because of that. Because at the start of the season, what was it? The Southampton game in the Cup, where he scored that worldie. Then he played against Plymouth when we beat them 5-1, and he looked unbeatable in that game. But he's been in and out of the team since then, and he's almost kind of been... He's the one who's probably suffered the most from the change in management and the indecision under Reza, because Reza changes the team almost every week, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I think him coming in and out of that team probably doesn't give him the run of games to build that confidence back up. And when he comes back in, he's probably nervous about making those errors because he'll probably get dropped again.
I don't know if that's true anymore. I think he's had a couple of real long runs in his team.
Runs, yeah.
I think that argument was fair like 6 months ago. I don't think it is anymore. I don't know. I think
he's still been in and out of the team in recent weeks.
Not enough that it completely. I don't get enough that it's that much of a factor anymore.
I think he's been out of the team because
I know
beforehand couldn't justify him starting ahead of Robertson. Sorry.
No, and I agree. But then I also think when he comes in and out of the team, he's probably worried about making those mistakes a little bit more, and that breeds that indecision.
Possibly.
I think you look at like sort of December, November time when we were in that really sticky batch. He had a good run of games, like 90 minutes, came off at halftime against Coventry, Preston. What did he come on at halftime against Coventry? Like, there's plenty of runs there. I think, up until January. Yeah, it was literally up until like the Watford game where we drew 1-1. He was involved in like the majority of the game for most of that. So he's had plenty of I think he's had plenty of football. I think at some point the onus has to be put on him that he's got to get better with this. And I think that's what you think back to like Bellamy's criticism of it. I get it. I totally understand what he's saying with that. He's the reason he's not sort of getting picked for Wales and doing these things is because he's not. There's something lacking with him that's just not kicking him on, and until he nails that down, it's his career's not going to be there. He's going to end up in League One if he carries on the way he's going. He should be ending up in the Premier League.
I feel like as a player, he's thinking about what could go wrong rather than what can go right.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, in a lot of situations, almost as if he's too clever for his own good, like a little bit of overthinking and stuff. So it's like a little lack of confidence. But I think he's almost got that awareness that he knows what's going on, that he kind of shits the bed a bit.
He needs to have a conversation with Cole Palmer. He needs to be stuck in a room for 24 hours with Cole Palmer and just learn from that. And I think
that's true.
Cole Palmer is having a stinker at the moment, so maybe Cole Palmer 2 months ago. I was going to talk about the first half, Ben, but not much happened really, did it?
No, it was a bit of a dull one, wasn't it?
Yeah. I was trying to think of like anything specific that happened in the first half that was worth noting. Did we have like there was one or two long range shots?
Al Ghazi had a shot, did he?
Yeah, Al Ghazi had a shot. I thought we kept the ball and sort of knocked it about quite nicely. But again, it was that sort of thing of similar to Portsmouth. We kept the ball all right, but we just didn't do anything with it.
Well, we don't. If you look at the possession stats, 57% possession, almost 400 accurate passes, which was better than them. So we did keep the ball quite nicely.
It was just it didn't feel like a derby. You compare the intensity to the Swansea game to that game, and like it was just massively. It was so weird how lacking it was. I know the South Wales derby is much bigger than that, but just even from the players on the pitch, like Bristol didn't seem like they wanted to bring any intensity to it. They were happy to sit back, let us have the ball, and try and nick that 1-0.
Yeah.
And they nearly did, to be fair.
Yeah.
You can see why they tried to do it, to be fair. I think they tried to take the sting out of it. It's the right thing to do with us at times. Because we struggle to break down teams. And I think, like we touched on earlier on, we either come out the blocks flying or we're awful. And I think they let them run out, not create anything in the first few minutes. And then we really do struggle. And that's exactly how it played out.
Tom, the second half did kick up a notch, though. I think we started the game second half. They started the second half much better. Alnwick made some smart saves. There was some debate over Alnwick versus Horvath in the week. Obviously, Horvath had put in a pretty good performance against Stoke, had saved the penalty to kind of take us through to the fifth round. But Reza stuck with Alnwick. Did Alnwick show enough to make you think that he should be stuck with till the end of the season?
Probably. I think as two keepers go, they're almost identical in ability. I think Alnwick's just got that little bit of leadership quality that Horvath doesn't have. I think there's a confidence to our defence when Alnwick's behind them that they don't have with Horvath. I think we saw that when Horvath was having a bit of a run in the team. You could see defenders were almost like second guessing themselves. And I think distribution-wise, Alnwick is slightly better as well. But it's one of those ones, if they swap them about, I wouldn't be too uncomfortable with it. And I don't think, Alnwick has had a couple of opportunities where it's been a little bit poppered on wrists, like we said before. Like, you could probably question him in that one goal against Portsmouth. But I don't think he's done enough to be completely dropped. So I'd be more than confident to see him stay in there for the rest of the season.
Let's talk about their goal, Ben Price. There was some debate over whether it was offside or not. What's your take on it?
He was onside. I don't like. There's Bristol City players offside, but the bloke that won the header was onside by a mile. I don't get the argument of that, and that's it. The whole goal frustrated the fuck out of me. I'll be honest. We saw the worst.
Well, now you've got a platform, Ben. Tell us.
Yeah, we saw the worst in Perry NG from that goal. More focused on trying to be a shithouse and cause problems there than actually defending. If you watch the replay back, the first thing he does is shove Knight off the ball, which then not only pushes Knight further forward, it pushes Perry back so we can't mark him. Any challenge on Knight there and he's not getting that ball, if you're goal side of him and sort of blocking, doing your job, he's not winning that header. You're stopping the attack. But he's too focused on trying to be a dickhead, and it's cost us now a lot more than it's actually helped us. I think so far this season, it's helped us once with the red card against Plymouth. Other than that, it's been just a constant disaster. His attitude's stinking at the moment. I think there's a reason he's not getting ahead of a centre midfielder at right back, and he's costing us far more than he's helping us. And I think in the summer, we look to offload, and which is mental to say when he was our player of the season 2 years in a row. But he's just gone off the rails. I just don't understand what it is. It's the player doesn't look like he's enjoying any part of this football club.
What I was going to say about their goal is I don't think he was offside either, but the amount I think there's 2 or 3 players. Armstrong is absolutely offside. He's about a yard ahead of everybody else. There's 2 or 3 arms that look offside, and I think it's one of those goals that 5 years, because they've sort of meddled with the offside rule to the point where it's only the active player now, which is fair enough. 5 years ago, I think that's just immediately flagged as offside because somebody is offside at some point, and it's the easiest decision that a linesman makes. But now it's not an offside. It's one of those goals that it was great anticipation by Knight, and it's an absolutely fantastic cross. Isn't
Brilliant.
it?
It's a brilliant header.
It's a brilliant header and it's a brilliant cross.
I think though, like Ben said, like because NG he looks offside because NG is so far away from him.
Of course, he is.
Like that. I don't know whether he's trying to just push him offside or what. It's just really bad defending from like start to finish. Like I messaged in the group before I saw Ben's tweet about it, just saying exactly the same thing. It was just like, what the fuck is he thinking there? Like he's like, I'm not even sure if it's like shithousen. It's just shit defending.
Yeah,
and he's just like you said, it's his attitude. It looks like it just stinks at the moment. I don't know whether it's the way that like Wintle left the club, like and is his mate and things like that. But like he's looked completely disinterested for months now, and it does just sum it up that we're willing to plug gaps rather than put him back in half the time, and it's just such a fall from grace. It's mad, really, and like we can't afford to have players falling from grace when we haven't had enough good players there to kind of make up for it.
And also, the grace isn't that high, isn't it?
Nah, like he was Mr. Dependable for a while with the odd mistake. Do you know what I mean? Like it was the odd when he overstepped the line, but he's very really back the right side of the line now. It's just infuriating, really, because we know there's a good player in there. We were worried about losing him to Premier League teams, and I don't think there'd be many who will come sniffing for him now because he just hasn't shown enough to be moved to a higher level than us.
No Premier League teams go near him when he's doing stuff like that. You can't afford to. The only teams that are going near are.
It's basics, absolute basics.
But just defend. Your sole job there is to defend. Like, just block your man. Just try and stop something from happening. Don't shove him further closer to the goal so it gives him an easier chance to get the fucking header off.
It's annoying. It's annoying because we played well apart from that.
Yeah.
I thought defensively we were pretty sound. Like, yes, we didn't create much. Yes, it was a pretty fucking boring game for most of it. But like Bristol, like they would have been in the playoffs to the win that game. Like,
mental. They're not like, a good side.
They're terrible.
I wouldn't go that far, but like but we more than matched them, and I think if we're lucky we didn't lose the game, but if we'd lost because of that, it would have been even more infuriating. Like
we'd been really in the shit.
Just, it'd have been completely our own fault as well, and that's what's infuriating about
it. It's quite interesting. You talk about NG and like the Wintle effect. Obviously, him, Wintle, and Tanner were all quite close mates. And obviously, Tanner this season has been, up until his injury, probably one of our better performers. Consistent, pretty good in a fullback position, pretty good going forward. He's kicked on, and NG's gone the other way, really. And it shows almost like the different maturity levels of a player who's come from non-league and has had to fight for this position, rather than NG, who probably feels slightly ever so in a privileged position that he should be first name on the team sheet, that kind of thing from the last couple of seasons. And if that's NG's attitude to his mate being sold on, then I think it's fucking dreadful, isn't it?
It's embarrassing from him. It really is. I just don't. And we know he's got a bit about him. He's a bit of a feisty character. But like, even if it is the stuff with what happened with Wintle and Bullet, that Bullet's gone. Bullet's been gone since fucking November. It's
30 games ago, basically.
Yeah, you've got to get over it at some point and sort of put your head down. If it's a case of like broken promises that if Premier League clubs came, you'd get transferred. I don't know, but at some point you've just got to man up and get over it and sort of just kick on, because you didn't get the move this summer. That's fine. Understand your disappointment, but you're not doing anything to help yourself get a move to a better club next year, are you? If anything, all he's doing is sort of putting him in the window for, well, realistically, back to League One.
I was shocked when he said that Bristol could have gotten the playoffs, as an aside, because I just assumed they were perennially around 12th, 13th. But what's shocked me even more is that Coventry is 7th now.
Yeah,
which shows the run they put together under Lampard, and also Sheffield Wednesday and Watford are 9 and 10th. Like this league is so. I know we talk about it every week, but this league is so tight that a run of about 10 games would knock us right up the table. But we're never going to get there, are we?
But that's a frustrating thing. I think this year, like when we were on about the Portsmouth game, is that we had a run of 8 unbeaten, but we weren't winning games.
Wins. Yeah.
We haven't won games all season. And like I keep seeing the stats, we've won 3 out of 20 something. And I keep forgetting that. And then I think about it. It's like, oh yeah, there's not many times that this year I've gone, oh yeah, we've won a game and I'm excited about it. But when we have won them, it's been like Swansea. So like that's enough to carry you for about a month and a half. But like
only Plymouth have won fewer than us.
Yeah, which is mad, really. And they've started to win a couple of games now as well. And I think it shows the importance of turning some of those draws into wins. Because like Oxford did it when they went on that unbeaten run and put themselves safe. And, you know, Coventry have done it. Brought a manager in with Lampard. It's gone really well for them. They've put themselves in a playoff picture. What we've done is drawn a load of games to keep ourselves afloat.
Yeah.
But we've never been able to pull away from that picture.
Not kicked on.
And the thing is, right, we're going to have a run of losing games. And we can't afford to have that at the moment because we are not far enough away from that relegation zone for it to happen. So it just shows, like, I know some of them weren't our fault. I think Coventry were really unlucky earlier in the season and stuff like that. There's a couple of games gone against us. But since then, we haven't really done enough to kind of, I don't know, put us safe. And that's the frustrating thing.
I feel like a lot of the games we've lost, it's been individual mistakes and we're losing by the odd goal. Or we're just doing stuff to ourselves. You sort of look at Leeds and Burnley, sort of where we got battered aside. It's been sort of just that, isn't it? It is just been individual errors costing us that just enable, or like turning wins into draws. Sort of, was it Stoke away? Yeah, the Ben Gibson. Sort of like just these individual errors that are stopping us from picking up those things. That, like, especially with the draws, where two of those, if you take 2 or 3 of those draws and turn them into wins, you're looking sort of. Well, you're above Swansea. You're looking sort of Preston Millwall sort of territory.
Yeah, we're not seeing out games, and we showed on the cup as well. Like 2-goal lead there, couldn't see it out. Yeah, we won on pens, but we just don't make it easy for ourselves. We're not putting teams to bed, apart from Swansea, and we're just not seeing out games. We're making it nervy for ourselves, and eventually it's going to bite us.
Even Oxford on Boxing Day, right? We ended up going 3-0 down and getting it back to 3-2, and it's like if we just started that game 10 minutes sooner or been a bit more switched on for 10 more minutes in that game, that's a draw or even a win. Millwall away, we went 2-0 down to 2 pretty shit goals and ended up drawing it back. But again, lack of concentration for those 2 goals, and that's 3 points thrown away. It's ridiculous.
And it's quite funny because I genuinely thought we were going to go towards the playoffs at one point, and I genuinely thought we'd done enough now to kind of be in that safe position. And then it's the people who tweet every now and again about that, just that stat about how many games we've won. And we're like, why was I so stupid to think this? Yeah, like, why did I think I'd seen enough? Like, why am I so naive about this? And it's been such a roller coaster. We've been constantly like average all year, but emotion-wise, it's been up and down because I keep convincing myself we're fine and then thinking we're doomed. And I'm swaying towards doomed again at the moment.
I feel like if we hadn't had the start of the season we did under Bullet, we'd probably be all right. You're probably looking at us going, it's just one of those mid-table seasons. It's because we were such a bad start. We like gave us like in most games, we handicap ourselves at the start and have to try and chase after ourselves, don't we? So it's just it's
that bullet start to the season feels like fucking ages ago.
Feels like a different season.
It feels like a different season because those 6 games were so bad, or 5-6 games, however many it was. Obviously, the Swansea game was the decent one, but losing to Burnley 5-0 when they've only scored 30 goals this season, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. It didn't look that bad at the time because it was Burnley, they're going to be up towards the top of the league, but they only do 0-0s and 1-0s now, and it does really stand out.
James Trafford hasn't conceded in about 15 games or something ridiculous. They haven't conceded since December the 21st. It's ridiculous. Anyway,
33 games, 9 goals.
Yeah, how many have they scored?
They scored 39.
39. Sorry,
we shipped 7 in one game.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Anyway, let's talk about the Bristol. Let's finish talking about the Bristol game. Ben, at that point when they went 1-0 up, they kind of did look like the team most likely to go on to win the game, didn't they? I think there was a couple of really good saves from Alnwick. The one down to his left was a fantastic
save.
Did you worry then? Did you feel like we were going to throw the game away?
I did a bit because I felt like up until that I reckon we were the better team. We looked like the team that were probably more likely to go on and score. They get a corner and score from that, and from then on out, it was just. They said they took control. They showed why they are where they are in the league. I don't think they're a fantastic side, but they're really capable of controlling games. They got that 1-0. They got what they needed, and they were trying to sort of maybe push on, but they were solid at the back enough as well. Sort of, they were alert to everything. And yeah, I felt like it was just going to be one of those games. It was going to be a really frustrating game after what could have been so much more. We just didn't take our chances, and they took theirs.
No, they didn't, but we did take our one chance, Tom Phillips. Ramsey came back on. Nice to see him getting back to playing football again, considering we've never seen him play football this season. But it was just in that moment for the Ashford link-up, he just showed his class, didn't he? It was like a simple, very easy pass, but the weight on it, the way he hit it for early to get Ashford in, that was everything that you want from Ramsey, isn't it? Just quick play with class.
Yeah, it's like a simple elegance to a lot of his play, isn't it? Like these little passes. And I'm hoping if he gets a run of games, he could be the difference really from us kind of pulling away from it, because it shows the quality he's still got. And I think like Ashford as well, the composure to pull the ball back, put it in that area.
Yeah.
It's just really, really nice play all round. And then a decent finish from Salech as well. I thought he was really strong against the defender.
Yeah,
and kind of
defender was trying to foul him.
He tried to foul him and he just kind of like bought himself a little bit of space and tapped it away. And it shows how simple good football can be, really, and what we've missed out on, really. So I think, like we touched upon it earlier on about Colwill, I think having Ramsey on the field alongside the likes of Ashford and Colwill could be invaluable going forward. And I think Salek's kind of probably playing himself into being a super sub at the moment. I think, I don't think he'll have that sort of impact if he's there for 90 minutes, but he is a brilliant person to bring on late in games because he does get in the right areas. He bullies and harries defenders who've already got 70 minutes under the belt in the game, a stand of tire. And yeah, he's proven to be a bit of a shrewd signing, because I think if you bring that quality in the team, I think even Mansverk as well, he's come in and he hasn't fully got running yet, but you can see this quality there. I think we're starting to see some real good quality in that midfield. So if we can start linking those players up, we might just be all right.
Ben, how nice is it from a Cardiff City academy perspective that it was Ramsey and Ashford linking up for that goal? It felt like, the old generation with the new generation. Ashford has quietly become a really important player for kind of direct goal contributions. He's 3 or 4 assists this season, 2 or 3 goals this season. And obviously Ramsey, the kind of the star of the academy in the mid-2000s. It's just a really nice thing, isn't it?
It was lovely. It was. And it was just that whole goal was just really nice. Like the vision from Ramsey to play the ball in that space, and the awareness from Ashford as well, which I think is underrated, is he knows where that ball's going and makes a beeline straight for it.
Yeah.
I think it's just a brilliant goal come from the academy. And just, like I said, it's a weird thing to think about, like it's 2 proper generations of the academy. It shows sort of how desperate the club's been in the meantime, where you've got Ramsey there, like 2005, 2006 season. Ashford and Colwill probably are the only 2 that have really come from there in that time. It's since then. It's a long time to be without a real
you're forgetting Ben Nugent.
I was waiting. What Saki answers are you going to come up with now?
Sorry, Taunton Town's very prolific. Nat Jarvis.
Yeah.
Your brother's favourite player from the 2011-2012 season, Jesse Darko, Ben.
Jesse Darko. Deji Ochelarja.
He's actually had a decent career in League One, League Two.
That is a decent career.
Yeah.
I got Jesse Darko on LinkedIn. I think he sells cars.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Ben James's brother bought a shirt with his name on the back because he thought he was going to be the next big thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he wasn't the next big thing.
It's a family trait picking up bad shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to say, yeah.
If anyone does want to buy a Jack Simpson shirt, any Leyton Orient fans listening, I'll do you a great deal on it. Let's talk about Joel Bagan's block in the last minute, Tom. Obviously, we kind of touched upon it there. I think the Cardiff City socials put out a post with a photo of him just saying this is a Joel Bagan appreciation post. Very quietly, very good yesterday, wasn't he, Tom? And that block was kind of a bit of a cherry on the cake for him. He just didn't dive in, didn't panic, just watched the ball, and it was a fantastic block to kind of seal the draw.
Yeah, just really good defending. And I think what we want is just a dependable player at the moment. We don't need flashy defenders. We need someone just to do basics. People who don't injure themselves in the penalty box while giving away penalties and stuff like that. So I think, like I said earlier, I wasn't convinced about Bagan, but I think he's really, now he's got over 100 games under his belt. I think he's found his feet a little bit. He's become a really important player for us. And yeah, I think he deserves an appreciation post because there's not been many consistent performances throughout that squad this season, but he's definitely been one of them.
He's done in 2 different roles as well, which is more impressive. Yeah. I think
it's
not like he's been, there's players that have done all right, that have had like a nailed down position for most of the season. He's sort of flicking between going at centre back, going at left back. It's a difficult one to do. And it's not like it's a constant run of games. He's coming in for dribs and drabs, 3 games here, out for a few, then comes in for another 2 sort of thing. And he's constantly been solid. He's not been perfect, but I think he's done really well. He really impressed me yesterday with just how well he dealt with that, because it's not like centre-back in a 2 should be the most natural thing for him. I think in a 3, a left-sided centre-back option there, I think will probably be, he's perfect for that role. But I thought he was brilliant. Really, really worked hard, just did everything right yesterday.
Ben, I should pull you up on something. Are you talking about the academy prospects who come through since Ramsey?
Are you going to say Joe Rolls?
No, I'm not going to say Joe Rolls. You missed out your
There's gonna be
Ballon d'Or
someone
nominee. Your
yeah,
favourite player.
I think of him as like from the World's Academy. I think he's just
Oh,
a gift
right.
to everyone.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I'm just making sure, because I felt like you glossed over a few players. Obviously, a lot of them, but Mark Harris played quite a few games for us and was, your favourite footballer.
Yeah, but you're still looking. What's that? Still 8 years between him and Ramsey coming together. I think the closest we have.
I'm not disputing that point. I'm just saying, as a Mark Harris fan, you missed quite a lot.
Stop destroying narrative, Ben. It was a nice moment that we can talk about.
All right, let's go over to Twitter, twitter.com/VFT Ninian for all your tweets. First one from Harry Dickens. I would like to contend that Yusuf Salech has nicer hair than Kiefer Moore. I would come to you on this one, Tom, but I'll go to Ben. What is...
I even didn't wear a hat today to prove I had hair. Never mind.
What's your view on that? Because you said this is going to be a long podcast, and you throw this into the mix. Salech has got lovely hair.
It is lovely hair, but is it Kiefer level hair? That is the question that needs to be answered here. And I can't decide. I think it's a lovely barnet. I think he does a lot with it. But it doesn't have the pomp and circumstance that sort of Kiefer's has, I don't think. I think
Salech's has a bit more natural curl, a bit more natural kind of bounce to it. But I think Kiefer Moore's is very straight and needs a bit more work to it. So I think Salech has a bit more natural, what's the word I'm looking for? Swag to it. I think Kiefer Moore's looks great when it's got the slick.
Do you know what I'm thinking? This is the perfect comparison between Messi and Ronaldo.
It is. Salech, they always talk about
Messi. It's natural. It's just organic, and it's great that way. Whereas Keith has to work a lot harder on there, and Keith is probably the more athletic here. I think that's the way we're comparing this, isn't it?
Tom, quite a good analogy.
Yeah,
fair play. I was wondering where you were going to go with that, but it actually works. I think we need to put a poll out. It's the only way. Right. We need to get the listeners inside. Yeah, it's sorted.
The Welsh Wombat says needs to start Salech with Ashford on Saturday. Arguably our most exciting player since Christmas, so don't get why he didn't start today. Front line of Salech, Robinson, Ashford, Alves would be superb. Tom, Salech came in obviously in January, hadn't really played since November, was probably a couple of months behind everybody else in terms of, obviously a natural fitness, but in terms of match fitness. He's got to be knocking on the door for a start soon, hasn't he? 3 goals since he's come in, a few of them off the bench. You think he'd be getting a start soon?
Yeah, possibly. But like Robinson's done all right in the last couple of months and stuff as well. And like I said earlier, I can see Salech just being that ideal sub to bring on. I think keep him in that role for the next few weeks. But if I was Salech, I would be knocking on the door and asking, like, when am I going to get a start? Because he's done enough when he's come on, that's for sure.
Ellis Roderick says, would like to see that back 4 be first choice going forwards. Mansverk and Alves were excellent. Great cameo from Rambo. Would like to see Salech and Ashford start next game. Rubin plays well, but needs to make better and quicker decisions. Next 2 games are massive. Common Bluebird says, how can we fit Salech and Robinson into the starting lineup? Robin can be individually brilliant, but we seem to function better with Salech as a focal point. Matty Aztec says, once the new players are settled, we'll be okay. Salech starts for me next week. Tom, your super sub line is getting a hammer in here. People are clamouring for the Salech start.
But they can clamour all they want. I'm sticking with my line.
On TM Williams, new signings look good. We need to shoot more. Ramsey class cameo. Getting worried about defensive changes as we need to settle defence. Best game from NG for a while. Like Reno at right back, but he struggles when confronted with pace. Ben, any comment on best game from NG for a while, considering you were so cutting of him earlier?
I don't think it was. I don't think he played that well. He gave away the ball a lot. Looked all right one-on-one. I get that, but I wouldn't say it was his best game for a while. If that is, it shows what sort of low bar he's been the last few months.
Jack the Lad says updates on Turnbull, Tanner, Robertson, and Chambers. Fuck those, mate. Injured? I got nothing. Umar Ohid, one clear-cut chance created, which was the goal at home. That is quite simply unacceptable. MJCCFC, again seeing a lot of negativity. While we need to be grinding wins out far better, we feel we're not far away. New signings of Ramsey elevated our level. Just seems to be an error in the game that's hurting us. Bagan needs to be that second centre-half for the rest of the season. Jamo, does El Ghazi deserve his place starting? Offers nothing defensively, and in my opinion, very little going forward. I'd much rather see Ashford in over him and have him come off the bench. It's the age-old question, isn't it, Tom, with those wingers? El Ghazi came off the bench against Millwall, basically changed the game, has started since then, hasn't offered so much. Ashford comes off the bench, gets the assist. We're just going to have to chop and change him every week, aren't we?
It does feel like that because I don't think any of them are consistent enough that they warrant being played over and over again. Ashford's probably the closest who's done that. But like El Ghazi's like, I think it's just a name thing. Like, I'm just convinced he's going to do something absolutely amazing at some point. I'm sure Reese's just sat there thinking the same thing at times. Just like he's got enough quality that he should be turning games on his head, really. But he just hasn't really done it yet. But I don't know. I'd still stick with him, I think.
I think someone, I can't remember who it was, someone on Twitter posted like stats with us, with and without El Ghazi. And we're a much better side with him in playing. It doesn't seem like he's one. I think he's one of those players. Like, he's not like you sort of high end, sort of tricky wing that's going to do 10,000 step overs with the ball and slam it in from sort of 30 yards. He's got a bit about him, but I think he's more just a solid player that can make other stuff happen. That might not be the most glamorous winger you'll see. It might not be the most memorable, but what he does, I think, is consistently good. He's a winger. Wingers notoriously hot and cold. But I think the last few weeks, I think if you look at the stats, I think his inclusion is justified just based on results from other play, like other goal involvements and stuff as well. It's not just a case of he might not do a lot of like get the stats with the assists or lead up to the assist or whatever, but he's definitely doing something there, and I can see why he's starting regularly.
Simon Keane, Alves looked good, but he's no Keane Ashford. La Espanola, so lovely to see Ramsey spraying the ball around the pitch again. Barry Jones, need to stop early goals. Would you go with a back four or go with an attacking team? Well, we could do both. Gareth Dunning, Saturday we need to take the game to them with an attacking game from the off. Rambo and Colwell, Ashford and Alves. Salech deserves to start. Goal scorer and outlet. Bluebird John, time for Salech to start. Sam Parry says, personally thought Colwell had a good game, albeit a little shot shy. What were your thoughts? Also, shout out to Joel, who I thought had a very good game at centre half. Kind of covered off the whole Colwell debate. Daniel Morgan says, do you think Callum O'Dowda can hear Dye tell him to stay wide every 5 minutes? Ben, do you think Dye Hunt has an impact on Callum O'Dowda's game?
I think he has an impact on everyone's game, whether they like to admit it or not. The bloke is a psychology master. He knows what he's doing. He lets everyone know that he knows what he's doing. And I didn't make it to the stadium yesterday, but even I heard him say, keep wide, keep wide. That's how loud that bloke is.
Last time I was near him at a game, he did have an Errol Bullets coat on. Like, it was a New Balance Cardiff City coat with EB, and it was signed, I think, by Errol Bullets. So I think he was largely in charge. Rodri says, what's the reason we're so inconsistent? Reasons, tactics, or players' errors? Can't quite make my mind up. And Blue Army says, why are we so shit? All your tweets, twitter.com/VFT Ninian. So while we've been away, obviously a lot has been going on. We've had a few weeks away from the podcast. So let's talk about the main ones, Tom. It was your wedding day, and Cardiff City delivered a fantastic present in a 7-0 loss to Leeds. What?
Sporting wise, that day was fucking horrendous for me. I got up early. Got up early to watch the Wales rugby game at 7 a.m. with like all of us sat around a laptop in the wedding venue. Watch us get pumped 43-0, then get married, and then I tell you what, everyone else, like Sarah had fallen asleep. I was still awake just before the Cardiff game kicked off at 2 a.m. Let's watch this. 2-0 down in like 8 minutes. I went, fuck this, went to sleep. And I still haven't watched the rest of the game back because I refuse. But yeah, shit sporting day all round. But I think it's a one-off, I'd say, getting hammered that much by Leeds, and they're clearly a class above people in this league. So I'm not gonna worry too much about it.
Yeah, I mean, I spoke to a Coventry friend who I work with this week, and I think they lost to them 4-2 something. I can't remember what the score was, but he said Leeds could have easily scored 10 against them. So I think, Ben, to Tom's point, we're not going to be the only ones who suffer at their hands like that. I think their current run rate and goal rate is putting them on the same level as Reading's record season all those years ago. So they are far and ahead in the league. But it is just annoying, isn't it, losing 7-0?
Yeah, losing 7-0 to Leeds, and the amount of Jacks that did it to us. It was sort of, the whole thing was just a bit rough. It was just a rough day. It's easy to sort of just like, and it's quite nice to be go, right, just like that. It's ignore it, put it out the window. They're gonna turn over a couple of teams like that for the rest of the season. It's just one of those. But when you dig down deep into it, we properly just went. The players like, well, there's nothing I can do with that. It's sort of like when you're playing like 11 aside, and the team's brought in players from like the team above, like their first team or whatever, and they're just a class above. You go, what am I going to do about that? It's just class. So it's just
I'm having a look at the FOTMob stats. We had 2 shots all game. Both of them were on target, but both of them were from about 35 yards out. So that's how close we got to them. They had 29 shots, 7 big chances, 11 shots on target. We did beat them in the big chances missed column, though, because we didn't miss any big chances, which FOTMob puts us a win.
But neither did they. They had 7 big chances and 7 goals.
They missed 1 big chance, according to FOTMob.
Oh, right. Okay.
I don't know how that works out. We missed no big chances. So, woohoo.
That's the real win.
Yeah, I think Leeds are, especially when you look at their attacking talent, you know, I think their forward line in that game was obviously James Pirro. They had Nonto playing. Matteo Joseph, I think, came on. They had Aronson in the middle of the park. They're just ridiculous. Their players are a level above. So it's annoying. I think it is shit losing 7-0. It looks bad, but I think to your point, Ben, we're not going to be the only ones who do that this season, are we? They're going to batter a few other teams as well. Obviously, more excitingly, Tom, the FA Cup. Not very exciting in the sense that we went to Stoke, but we came away with the win. We kind of touched upon it earlier. One of those games, wasn't it? Because we went 2-0 up, which is something we've been clamouring for, you know, get a lead, try and hold on to it. We didn't hold on to it. And then we had to clamour back to make it 3-3 and go to penalties. But it's fun, isn't it? A little cup run. You like a cup run?
I do like a cup run. And it was an exciting game, mainly because we shot ourselves in the foot again. But and I thought Cardiff were just going to ruin another occasion for me, because this time I stayed up till 2 a.m. to watch on my honeymoon. And which looked like it was going to be a mistake. But no, it's really nice to get through. I think like it was really exciting to win on penalties and stuff as well. Like when you looked at the draw of the FA Cup, I know that like I think Guardian Football Weekly said that's the most boring possible game that could be, and ended up being like the highlight of the round, really. I think the only worrying thing about it is when you draw Villa in the next round and see how much Leeds absolutely tonked us. I think that's the one lasting effect of that Leeds game, is when we drew Villa. I was like, oh shit, we have got it in us to get absolutely hammered by a team like Villa. But no, it is exciting to put a cup run. You don't know what happens as well. And you look at the graphic, there really isn't many teams left in this cup now, but one of them is us. And it's always exciting to see that.
Ben, going back to that Stoke game, obviously there were a few changes to the starting lineup. Bagan played at centre-half again alongside Fish. Horvath came back in. Ramsey came back in. Colwell started. There were a few really good performances in that game, though, weren't there? Obviously, we've already talked about Colwell. Salech put in a particularly good performance, got his goal. El Ghazi was particularly good on the right. Fish and Bagan put together a pretty good partnership at centre-half. You know, despite the result, 3-3, everything else, there's a lot of positives to take from that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I think just everything about that game. I think for the game we described, like in like the Guardian Football Weekly's called the worst possible draw, that game did not have any right to be that good. No. It was just really enjoyable. Even if we did throw away a 2-goal lead, I thought it was just fucking brilliant to watch. Yeah. It's the most I've enjoyed watching a football game, like just for a long time. I think the extra time was a bit dull, but other than that, it was like really enjoyable. So. Yeah, players played well. There was individual mistakes, but I think there's some individual brilliance. I think that's like Colwell, when he got the goals and sort of the way he played like that, was getting shots off and being really instinctive. Yeah. That's when he's at his best, and that's what we need from him. I think Colwell like that is the player we want, and it shouldn't just be reserved for cup games, which it seems to be at the moment. But yeah, I think it's just there was no one really had a shocker for how sort of, considering it was 3-3, no one you can look at and go, oh, well, they hurt their chances of breaking into the first team.
I think as well, it's not a coincidence that Colwell's best performances are always in the cup, because like the pressure is off.
Pressure's off, yeah.
Slightly. Yeah. I think when the pressure's off, that's when the overthinking and stuff stops a little bit. He does just do that instinctive side of it. So perhaps we were going to win the FA Cup if Colwell keeps playing, but who knows?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've drawn Aston Villa. I was just like, oh, they drew with Ipswich yesterday. They must have put in a bit of a stinker of a performance. No. 76% ball possession, expected goals around 3, 25 shots, 6 big chances, 603 passes overall. Absolutely dominated that game against Ipswich, but could only draw 1-1. Tom, obviously, we've kind of made a bit of a running joke on here about the kind of crap FA Cup draws we get. Obviously, Stoke being a point in question. It's nice, isn't it, to have a Premier League team to go to, and it's nice to go to a bit of a historic ground in Aston Villa.
Yeah, it's a decent tie. I think when it first came out, I was like, a bit disappointed, just because we played them in the Championship like not that long ago.
Yeah. It does feel like a different football club now at Villa, though, doesn't it? With everything that's changed. From there to now, it feels like they've gone a million miles.
Well, yeah, they're a European team now. They have got that massive historic stadium, like you said, as well. And there's like a nagging thing in the back of my head. So it's one of the more winnable, exciting ties as well. I don't think we will win it, but there's that little part of me is thinking we have got a chance here. We'll take a load of fans up there. I think even though it's a Friday night game now, I think we'll take a load of fans up there. And I think it'd be quite an exciting one. So, yeah, it's been a slow burner, really. Yeah, like I said, when it first came out, I wasn't that excited. But the closer we get to it now, the more enthused I am. And it's just nice to see us in the advanced stages of the Cup. Having a TV game puts us in the limelight a little bit as well. And you never know, it might be a bit of a kickstart to the end of the season if we put a decent performance in. I'm not even saying winning the game, but put a decent performance in an FA Cup game like that. Yeah, it might be a bit of a catalyst.
Can I retract a statement I made a couple of minutes ago saying no one had a stink and did themselves any harm?
No, you can't. You said it now. No, shut up. You can't retract anything. No, go on.
Because I forgot about Darland.
Oh, it's one of the worst thinkers I've seen in a while.
Was it like an 11-minute cameo where he's ended up with 8 stitches in his leg?
He was at fault for a penalty, managed to miss the ball, volleyed a player into the box and gave away a penalty, and at the same time managed to cut himself so badly it required 8 stitches. Yeah, and he had to be substituted. All-time stink of that. I forgot how bad that start was. The second half.
I was looking at the FA Cup ties, Ben, because I was going to ask you. We've drawn Aston Villa. Were there any other teams that picked out to you? And I was just looking at the other ties. Preston North End versus Burnley, which obviously after yesterday is going to be an absolute riot. 12:15 on the Saturday. The Hannibal Osmagic Derby, who I don't think should be allowed to play in the Football League anymore. If he's bitten someone, he's now being accused
if he's
of
proven
racism.
Guilty of racism,
he will be as well, 100%.
I think he needs to his contract needs to be cancelled. If Preston keeps
his own fans are saying it. Their own fans are saying he should be out of there.
Yeah, and apparently a Preston player went in the Burnley dressing room afterwards to either apologise or check on their players. I don't know which. It depends on the report.
Just an absolute vile piece of shit.
Allegedly. Ben, before we move on to Plymouth, he did bite someone. Yeah, that's true. He bit Owen Beck. Do you think we can beat Villa? Realistically, do you think we have a chance? They're in the Champions League, I think, a few days after. They've got big games all around it.
That's the one thing.
I'm looking at it, they've got like 5 games in 14 days. Their run is fucking mental.
They're under the cosh.
And
their bench is mental. They've got depth.
Yeah. They've got very good, but it's the FA Cup, innit? It does do mental things.
FA Cup Friday night,
FA Cup. There's under the lights at Villa Park. There's something special about that. There's always that hope of going, we could do this, boys. If there was a time to do it, with everything they've got going up, they're not really going to be too focused on winning. Like the FA Cup is a bonus to them, like it's a bonus to us. They've got everything to lose in that game, with all the fixtures coming up with the Champions League playoff and everything like that. I'm just there going, it could happen. It could happen here, boys.
Could happen.
It's on. All I'm saying is it's on.
All right, Tom, is it on?
I think it's on.
Oh, it's on. Sounds like it's on.
It's lovely for me. It's a lovely Saturday morning, 7 a.m. kickoff. So I'm going to find a pub to watch it, have breakfast. I'm going to watch Green Day in the night. So it's going to be an all-timer for me.
That's a good day, that, if it comes off.
It's a good day. If it comes off, I'm going to have an absolute whale of a time. I won't remember the gig if we win at 7 a.m. against Villa. I'll tell you that for free. But I don't know. There is something nagging about it. Like, I think it is that busy schedule and stuff. I think the only thing... Villa haven't won anything in a long time. They'll be well up for the cup as well. It's going to be packed out there. I think we could get thumped. There's no doubt about it. I think the first 20 minutes of that game are going to be absolutely massive. We've got to stay in that game. We've got to keep it 0-0 for as long as we can, and then they'll start to get nervy, and our confidence will get up a little bit. But I don't know. I do fancy it, but then I fancy every game. I said we'd beat Leeds 1-0, and look at that turned out. So, but I don't know. I'm quite excited by it, I must admit.
If you look at it though, right, between the 19th of February, their next game, and the game against us, they've got Liverpool at home, Chelsea at home, Palace away. Like, all of them are going to be tough games. They've got a lot against them in the league. Like, and then you've got like the Champions League sandwich between there. They've at the moment they've only got one game in March, which I can't work out. But it's really weird.
Is there an international break in March?
There is, yeah.
But also they're playing the Tuesday before us as well, right? So Tuesday, Crystal. I think we're playing on that Tuesday as well. But like that's going to impact their squad rotation more than it's going to impact ours. Because we can't really squad.
I'm not saying get excited, but what I am saying is get excited, boys.
I'm excited. I've already booked my train. Not even guaranteed a ticket yet, but booked my train. Because it's only 30 quid at the moment, so it's a bargain.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go, and I'm gonna have to find a way of going.
I feel like
I'm not going to go.
Why not, Tom?
I did my usual thing of looking at Sky Scanner for the sake of it.
How much are the flights?
Oh, like about $1,500, I think it was.
How much are they for the FA Cup final in May, though? Because I guarantee you've looked at that as well.
I'm already in the UK. I've got a wedding and I've already warned the bloke who's getting married that I will not be there if Cardiff get to the FA Cup final, and he said that's absolutely fine.
No, he's a good man. He's a good man. Right. Well, before we get that excited about Aston Villa, there is the small matter of Plymouth away to talk about next Saturday. Probably a more important game than Aston Villa in the FA Cup. Ben, is this the very definition of a relegation 6-pointer?
Yeah, I think if you look at everything about it, it screams. It's two teams in the relegation battle. They're going up against each other. I think it ticks all the boxes you need for a relegation 6-pointer, even if it is like middle of Feb. I think it's the biggest game of the season so far, isn't it? I think take the derbies aside and stuff. It's pivotal now.
It feels like it's the kind of the starting point of a really pivotal run. If you look at the fixtures we've got, obviously we've got Plymouth, then that's followed by Hull on the Wednesday. Then we've got, that's be the Tuesday now. Then we've got Aston Villa in the Cup, which kind of, ignore that for now. Sunderland away, you can kind of write that off. But then we've got Luton, obviously, a few weeks after that, Tom. It's make or break time. I mean, we've probably talked about it quite a lot this season, being make or break time to get some results together. But now we need 2 or 3 wins from the next few league games, don't we?
Yes. If we lose against Plymouth, then we're fucked, aren't we? I think part of me would probably take a draw.
Yeah.
Like now.
We had a stinker there last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, it was awful last year. But I don't know. Yeah, we'll know exactly where we're at after the Plymouth and Hull game. It's that simple, really. We lose both those games, it'll feel like we're done for, really. Because there's more.
Sorry, if they move the Hull game to the Tuesday, or is it staying on the Wednesday?
I think it moved to the Tuesday. If you look on the Cardiff City website, they posted something about the games moving around. I'm pretty sure it moved to the Tuesday.
BBC haven't moved it yet, and
the Cardiff City thing hasn't moved on the website. Hasn't moved it either.
They will move it.
They'd have to, sure.
I tell you what,
City Tuesday the 25th now. It's right. Sorry, Tom. Carry on.
Going into that Villa game, if we've lost against Plymouth and Hull, it'd be a really subdued atmosphere. There's no doubt about it. But it just feels like the way our season's gone so far, we've built up so many of these games to be like make or break, and then we've drawn them 0-0 or 1-1.
Yeah.
And I can imagine both these games ending like that as well, and just keeping us in that kind of like jeopardy position where we're kind of floating around. I think we've been quite lucky that Luton just really haven't picked up recently, so they're still down there. Plymouth have won a couple of games, so they've pulled themselves back into it. Derby is still shite, but they've just changed their manager. But what we've seen is the odds team pull themselves out of it. Like, I think a few weeks ago, we were looking at the table, kind of going anywhere from about 12th, 13th down, are still in the mix to go down. I think at a stretch, you're looking at 16th tops now with Oxford. But in reality, is probably Portsmouth down. Maybe even Stoke, to be honest. So, it's a big couple of games now. And, we really can't afford to lose. To be honest, we probably can't afford to lose one of those 2 games. because
we need at the
play
very least
Burnley
we need to be
and Sunderland in a
don't we?
row. Yeah, when you've got Burnley and Sunderland to come as well, and we've got tough games against Blackburn away as well. We were so poor against Blackburn at home. It's really pivotal.
I think you need 4 points there at least. I think a point.
Plymouth, you can only get 3 then.
No, I think a point at Plymouth and a win against Hull. I think that's a good return. I think, yes, again, it's a case of keeping your head above the water if you get 2 points from that. Any loss on either of those, fucking bad. It's a worry. And I think the players will know that. They're really going to have to put in some decent performances here because it's not looking good at the moment. Sort of like this is the most like make or break. I think for us to really kick on now and pull ourselves away, it's going to have to be this week now for the next 2 games where the players have got to put everything on there. They can't even think about the FA Cup game. I think the FA Cup game's a reward for putting in good performances against these 2 sides. I think that's the way it's got to be viewed.
Oh, absolutely. I think, we've talked about the good performances of recent weeks and the players who played quite well. Now, like going to somewhere like Plymouth, they'll be. I think it's their first home game after their Liverpool win, right? So they'll be a bit of a homecoming, a bit of a kind of good wave in that regard. I know they lost this weekend, but if we don't go there and at least shut that crowd up a little bit, they're going to be on our back from the start, and it's going to be a really kind of edgy place to go. And the players need to turn up and be counted in that regard. Tom, are you making any changes? Is Bagan getting a start? Are you bringing people like Fish, Darlin back in if Darlin's fit? What changes are you making? Is Salech getting the start?
I was about to say, the one thing I do know is Salech is standing on the bench for me. I made that abundantly clear, and I'm sticking with it. I think I would like to see Colwell starting still. I know people are saying he didn't perform that well. I think we need to go for it. I'd love to see Ramsey in there, Colwell in there, Ashford in there, just to have a little bit of attacking intent, just to get at them early doors, because it's not working for us in games where we sit off early doors and let the other team build a bit of momentum. So I think, they haven't turned into world beaters in the last couple of weeks, Plymouth. I know they've been Liverpool in the Cup, a very weakened Liverpool team. They're still vulnerable, and I think we need to get at them. So I think, a good attacking lineup really would set us straight, I think.
I didn't know Plymouth had beaten Millwall 5-1.
Yeah, they absolutely turned them over.
Yeah.
I think, when was that? I was in Japan.
Yeah.
Ben, any changes you making? Is there anything you disagree with what Tom said there?
I think Salech should start. I think what we lacked yesterday was
not having it.
we lacked that focal point at the top. I think when Robbo's on form and sort of he's kicking on, he's brilliant. He's there. He's offering outlets, but I think you can still.
He's been a bit quiet in recent games, hasn't he?
He needs that rest, and I think we were desperate for that outlet the whole time against Bristol. I think Salech, even if it's just 60 minutes, 70 minutes on there, just do it. I think, especially away from home, I think he's an ideal striker for that. I think give him the start, let him just run himself into the ground, then bring Robbo off the bench afterwards, sort of rotate it a bit. I was listening to Call Rob yesterday, and Kevin Ratcliffe made one of the best points I think he's ever made on the show, which blew my mind.
Whoa.
I know, but it was about Ramsey and how starting him at the moment probably isn't for the best. His best role for the next few weeks is coming off the bench and influencing the game after 70 minutes. If he's going up against people that are fully fit and sort of the same level of fitness as him, even not slightly ahead, he's not as influential. He comes on at the similar time as he did on Saturday in other games. He's going to just have that much more of an impact because he's so clever. And that's where you're going to get the best out of him. So for me, as much as I think I'd love to start him, I think if you go with the midfield, it's Mansverk and Chambers. Because I really like the look of Mansverk. We haven't really spoke about him yet, but I think when he hits like full fitness and full sharpness and understands the league, I think there's a really good midfielder there. And I think he's going to add real quality.
Running out of time, don't we? I think that's the problem. We're running out of time. We need him to click properly soon. But I think
2 or 3 more games. I think out of the 2 of them, I think he's going to be the one that him or Alves. I think he's going to be the one that gets it quicker. He just looks up for it, just not afraid to get stuck in. I really like the look of him.
I think with Ramsey though, I think it's a completely valid point about bringing him on later. We just need to not be 2-0 down.
Exactly.
I think that's the problem. So like when he's influencing the game, it's not as chasing; it's as trying to win it or
it's
hold
not
on to
a position where he's going to have. You're right.
Yeah.
When he can influence and win the game.
Yeah,
yeah,
but
exactly.
he can control that from there, and I think that's down to the other players to do. But that Chambers was a huge miss against Bristol. I think it showed in that midfield sort of at times where you just missed his distribution and stuff. So if he's back, it was only illness, it wasn't an injury. So if he's all right to play, he starts, and then you're looking a bit more solid. So yeah, they're the changes really. Go from there.
Who's doing the first prediction? Ben, I'm coming to you. What's the score going to be?
2-1 City.
Whoa, Tom?
I think we'll win 3-0.
Whoa! All right.
I said 1-1 earlier, like about 2 minutes ago. But
I'll bring the slightly more realistic view. I'm going to go 1-1. I think it's going to be cagey tight, and we're going to go 1-0. So
lovely.
That'll be a good result, though, won't it? 1-0 against Plymouth. That's it. We're all caught up. Ben, how was that for you? Anything we didn't discuss that you want to talk about?
We didn't really discuss the transfer window, but nothing happened that last couple of days. So
no, it was very quiet, wasn't it?
There we go. Talked about it.
Yeah. Tom, anything else you want to talk about?
No, I'm really running out of energy. So
yeah, you've faded a little bit from the start. So don't worry, you go to bed soon. Thank you very much to everyone who has listened and everyone who was tweeting us, asking us when we'd be back. We are back for the rest of the season. Twitter.com/VFT Ninian. If you like what we do and want to give us some money, KOFI.com/VFT Ninian. View from the Ninian.com. You can get in touch with us through that place. Find us on all the good podcast platforms. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Thank you to Terras for hosting the podcast. And we'll be back after the Plymouth game next weekend. See you then.